This is Donna Anderson for the NDSU Extension Service in Eddy and Foster County, and this video is part of the Kids Baking School series. This is the yeast experiment. With this yeast experiment, what we will do is we will put a teaspoon of yeast in each of these containers. In fact, let's just do that right now. So we're putting a teaspoon of yeast in each one of these bowls. And remember that yeast is a single-celled fungi that helps to make bread grow or to rise. Okay, so with this, the other ingredients that we're going to be placing in for this experiment is this bowl is going to have warm water, and the warm water is going to be the same temperature, the 110 degrees for optimal yeast growth. However, we're not going to give it any food. No food for bowl 1. For bowl 2, we're going to use room temperature water in this, and it is going to have sugar and flour, which are its foods, and when it starts to activate and there's a chemical reaction that happens with this, it's going to release carbon dioxide. This third bowl is going to have the optimal range temperature, so we're going to put 110 degree water in here, along with sugar and flour, its food. For this bowl, we're going to use 2 hot water and 120 degrees. And you're going to see that yes, there is some growth, but we're actually going to be killing off some of our yeast. It's going to have its food as well. So let's go ahead and we're going to add food for each of these bowls, or for 3 of the bowls. This other one, we're going to starve it. Bowl 1, we're going to starve that yeast, not give it any food. And the food that this is carbohydrates. So sugar is a simple carbohydrate, and flour is a complex carbohydrate. And let's do a quick little stir. You can do this experiment at home on your own too, if you'd like to see it yourself, your own interactions. It's a good chance for you to use your food thermometer as well. We're going to get rid of all the big chunks of flour. Okay, now I'm going to go get water, and you're going to join us as we add the water, and then we will do one segment where we are 5 minutes in, one segment 10 minutes in, and one segment in 15 minutes in, so you can see the development of the yeast. So join us in a few minutes. And here we are. So if bowl number 1, there really hasn't been, yes, the yeast is dissolved in there. We do see some bubbles that are in here, but it doesn't have any food. So basically this yeast over time will starve out. This yeast, it's growing at you can see that we do have some bubbles. So you know that it is working, that it is creating some carbon dioxide, but actually the water is just too cool for this to grow effectively. This bowl is at optimal growth, and you can really see how it's doming and it's actually expanding. The contents are expanding in this bowl. So this is at the 110 degree temperature. And then this one where the water was too hot, and of course, with this we would expect that it would, it's too hot and it will kill the yeast. And so that's what's happening here. We do have some yeast that has survived, and you can see that we do have some bubbles and growing in there, but we have killed off most of the yeast in that one just because the water's too hot. Join us in about at the 10-minute mark. We're at the 10-minute mark with our yeast, and you can see that we have some large bubbles that are producing the carbon dioxide, and they're popping in here. It keeps expanding and growing. We do see some growth in here, and there is a little bit of doming stuff. You can see just those are popping. The bubbles are expanding. The gas is being produced, and it's popping in here. Look here, we do have some gas that has started to grow. So some of the yeast that did not get killed off, it is finding the food and it is now starting to produce, but it's not going to produce to the level that this one did. And of course this would take a long time to get to the stage that this one will grow. And it's just not optimally going to be used to produce any good loaf of bread. All right, 15 minutes. We'll see you at the 15-minute mark. Okay, we are at the 15-minute mark. You see that this one has really not done anything because, of course, it does not have any food. It was the yeast with the warm water, but it does not have the food, which is the sugar and the flour. As the carbohydrates, it needs to produce the carbon dioxide gas. So this yeast was made with the too cool water, and it did have the food, the sugar and the flour. And you can see that there has been some growth in here. And this one, of course, this is the one that we want the reaction. We get the best reaction at this 110 degree Fahrenheit temperature. It has its food. It's a very happy yeast right now. This yeast was not as happy because it started out with it just got too hot of a bath. It killed off a lot of the yeast that was in there, but the yeast that did survive, it has started to multiply because it still is very warm to touch and there is food in it. So it is growing, but not to the level that this one is growing. So this is Donna Anderson, NDSU Extension Agent for the yeast experiment for the Kids Baking School. We'll see you in the next video.